What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. So before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother Aram for the donation to the channel via the PayPal. Much respect to the brother Aram for showing love once again, man. Salute to you. Longtime supporter of the NBA and lover of the golden era of the NBA. So he asked a question, and it was like basically, how good would Kareem be in today's NBA, right? And we can only speculate, but I think most people see Kareem as, at the very least, a top three all-time player. And I think everybody sees him as at least, anybody with common sense, a top 10 all-time player, probably a top five all-time player. I would say a majority have him in the top three, and some as the GOAT, especially if you look at it from all three levels of basketball: high school, college, and professional ranks. But how would he be today? Well, I mean, we don't really know. And a lot of times I don't like to put numbers out there, you know what I'm saying? I like to basically talk about like his role and how he would play, things of that nature. But I could try to give a number. That's speculative. That's extremely speculative. Like what he would average. You gotta look at different situations, his role on the team, his teammates, his health, all those different things. But let's just start with this. Remember, this is the same player who basically was banned from dunking in the NCAA. Oh, they didn't specifically say him, but essentially they banned the dunk in the mid 60s to limit this guy from dominating even more so than he already was dominating. You know what I mean? And all that really did was help him with his fundamentals, which he already was working on anyway. Um, so this is the thing. If he was playing today, he wouldn't have as much time to operate in the post, right? Um, However, he was not a back to the basket bruising type player. Okay, that wasn't what he was. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't Shaquille O'Neal. He was a guy who was more of a more rounded scorer. And I know people tend to see highlights of him shooting sky hooks, but he actually could shoot. He had a jump shot. He did, you know what I'm saying? And he shot 56% from the floor for his career. In his prime, he was around 57 to 58%. And the reason why he was so accurate is because he was both a great post player and he could score and shoot, I should say. Now, for his career, he was only one of 18 from downtown. They didn't really take a lot of threes in those era, the era that he played in 1969 to 1989. And centers almost never shot threes. And when he did, usually it was when, the ball was in his hand and hands and the shot clock was running down, one of those situations. But I have a tendency to believe that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if he had worked on that shot, I don't want to put a percentage on it really, but I think he could have worked himself into being, at the very least, a decent, acceptable three-point shooter. Like, think about it. Brook Lopez has worked himself into becoming a really good three-point shooter. 35% or so, 34, 35%, right? I don't see why Kareem, with his mechanics, one of the key things I look at when I try to figure out whether a guy is going to be a good shooter is I look at his free throw percentage. Wilt and Shaq are in the 50s, right? 50, 51, 52%, whatever, right? Kareem was 72%. So by center standards, that was decent. I tend to think he'd have been maybe a little somewhere around Russell Westbrook's level. Not a great 3-point shooter, but I'm just guessing the low 30 percentile. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but this is the thing. Kareem was a very underrated passer. He had over 5,000 career assists, if I'm not mistaken. And he had some seasons averaging 4 to 5 assists per night. You surround this guy with shooters. You surround Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with shooters and guys that could score. He would need, I would say, a great floor general, maybe a Chris Paul type, or maybe even better, a Rajon Rondo type, and surround Kareem with shooters at the three, at the two, you know what I'm saying, and a stretch power forward who could rebound decently. Maybe like what's the guy named Collins? Uh, Collins that used to play for the Hawks. Maybe somebody like that. And I think that'll be a great, great team. And then another thing you've got to remember is Kareem was a great center, but he wasn't a big, huge, hulky guy, right? He was 7'2" when he came to the league, 225. Never got bigger than 265. Even when he was older, around 250. And he was very, very big on staying in shape, right? He practiced yoga, he worked out, and he worked religiously on preserving his body. Religiously. Wasn't a weightlifter, but he worked on keeping in shape. And as a consequence, even in the more bruising physical style of basketball of the 70s and 80s, he was the first NBA player to play a 17th NBA season. If I'm not mistaken, he was the first guy to reach 17 seasons. And he ultimately played 20 seasons. Um, remember, he only missed 80 games. Now, it sounds like a lot, right? But over a 20-year span, what is that? 4 games a year on average? So he only missed about 4 games a year on average. So he played 78 games per season on average, right? So what I'm getting at is because he was so lithe and because he was, especially, playing for the Showtime Lakers, he had to be in tremendous shape, tremendous shape. He could play in half court situations and full court. He could run up and down the court. So he would have fit in nicely with the NBA today as far as the up and down speed of the game. So I could definitely see him running the floor, um, transition buckets, dunks. Hell, I could even see him running the floor, shooting threes. The way the game is played today, I could see Kareem doing it. Like I said, I don't know what his percentage would be, but no one's going to block his fucking shot. So this is a guy that can rebound at a high level, block shots at a high level, play defense at a high level. He could shoot well in this era. Um, I would imagine he would have worked more on his outside shooting. Nobody look, and then unlike in his era, you don't have a lot of great big men. This is a guy that had to play against the likes of from '69 to '89. He played against Wilt Chamberlain, Bob Lanier, and Willis Reed, and Zelmo Beatty, and Moses Malone, Artis Gilmore, a young Elijah Wan, a young Patrick Ewing. Uh, he missed Dave Robinson by a year, but he played against Jack Sikma and I know some other guys I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but he played against a lot of great quality centers. That's like what 10 centers I named. 23 league uh, NBA in the '80s, and well in the '70s it was like 17 to 20 teams, but you get the point. Oh, James Donaldson, Mark Eaton, Mark Eaton is the guy that who was actually taller than Kareem, is the guy that he scored the record-breaking 31,420 point on. So look, in today's NBA, who's his competition at center? Two guys, Embiid and Jokic, and Giannis is a power forward. So it's going to be absolute devastation at that position when he's playing against others. They're not going to be able to stop him. The same way Jokic's size and strength is an asset, and he's in the post when he is driving to the basket and trying to score. Kareem is 7'2", and Kareem is a lot more agile and a little bit more athletic, or a lot more athletic than Jokic. And I'm leaving out one of the biggest pieces of this. He had the most unstoppable shot in the history of the NBA, the skyhook. That alone is going to get him about seven, I would say 6 to 7 buckets a night. So, well, how much would he average in today's NBA? Well, on a great team, I mean, I don't like throwing numbers out there, but let's just say on a great team, I don't see why he can't average. When I say great, I mean championship level team. I can't see why he can't average, because he's not going to need a lot of points, a lot of shots to get his points. I don't see why he can't average 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3.5 blocks, a steal or two, or I'll say 1.5 steals. And with the lack of resistance at the rim and him taking less shots, I don't see why he doesn't shoot close to 70% from the floor. Well, if he takes threes, 65% from the floor. I don't see why he doesn't do that. And he's going to average probably, I would give it 6 assists a night. If he was on a bad team now, 30-some points, probably 12 rebounds, maybe 3.5 assists, maybe upper 50 percentile in shooting. I don't know percentage for threes, but he gets the foul line a lot too, because they're going to call more ticky-tack fouls. Kareem didn't get to the foul line as much as other centers because he wasn't this big bruising drive to the basket guy. But with today's star power, he would get more foul calls, I would say. Unlike Embiid, he's not going to be driving to the basket, flopping around everywhere, trying to get Academy Award winning calls. I know he's going to get an easy, efficient 25 to 30 a night. And there's going to be some nights where he's going to really pile up points. When there's a matchup disparity and he's really rolling, I can't see why he doesn't have a couple of 60-point, 20 rebound nights. Absolutely. But that's just my take on it. I think he'd be the best player in the NBA. Pretty much, when healthy. Perennial MVP candidate for at least a 10-year span, maybe even longer. And by the way, another point I want to make, and he said something about this a couple of years ago. Remember, this is a guy that played 20 years in a more competitive, more physical era. With today's load management, I don't see why he can't play 25 to maybe even 30 years. Because if he comes to the NBA at age 19 and he's load managing and he's only playing 68 games a year and only playing 30 to 32 minutes a night instead of 37, 38, 40 minutes, I don't see why he can't play at least 25 years. 25, yeah. If he comes to the NBA at age 19 or 20, I don't see why he can't play till he's 45. Especially with the skyhook. He's going to be able to score against, seriously, does anybody really think that, Nikola Vucevic, I think that's his name, anybody think that Vucevic is going to stop Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Come on, man. Literally, we have no defense playing stretch fours, playing center. Pretenders playing center. While Kareem will be giving up some threes, on the other end, he's going to more than make up for it by destroying them on the offensive end. And if anybody tries to go to the rim, Kareem's going to swat at least I would say 3 to 6 shots a night. Anyway, that's just my take on it. Tell me what you guys think.